How many of you find yourself wearing all the hats? You know, the chef hat, the bus driver hat, the mediator hat, HR, nurse, investigator, plumber. Throw me in the chat if you are feeling this, right? I saw some raising hands. Yes, that's happening. You know what I'm talking about. And it's always those tiny toilets that throw us over the edge. Tiny toilets, big problems. And let's get real for a minute. Does this ever make you feel like you're alone? Like you're the only one in the world who truly gets it? Like you talk to your partner, your husband, your friends, and they can't understand why finding a replacement for that custom toddler sized toilet is the bane of your existence. The only one who, when you have staffing issues, it really is a matter, 15 minutes can be a matter of life or death, right? Like this is compliance we're talking about. Anyone feel alone? Write alone in the chat if you resonate with any of this. Tiny toilets, big problems. Look at that. Look at we all overwhelmingly have the same feelings. And yet we feel so alone in this wild job. But you're not alone. We're all here. We are all here. We're in this together, at least for the next hour. And let's make the best use of our time together. Let's tiny toilets, big problems. That's yes. Let's make the best use of our time together. I know webinars are typically one way, talking head, talking at you. I don't like that. This is for you. You are spending your time, your precious time, because we know you don't have a lot of it, to be with us today. So I really, really want to make sure you're walking away with useful information. I really, really want to make sure that we're addressing all of your questions and problems and concerns. So utilize that chat. Okay. So you're not just attending a webinar today, you are actively participating. The chat is where the magic happens. And I don't know if you know this about me. I don't know if there's anyone who's worked with me before, but I'm a little geeky and I love, 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 love brain science. So if you've ever taken a course with me before, you can attest to the fact that I use brain science in everything I do. And it is scientifically proven that when participants actively interact during a presentation, different parts of the brain are stimulated. Scientists said this, you guys, like for real, scientists said this. So we know it's real, right? So if we really talk about like the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for the release of dopamine, and we want that dopamine. We need that dopamine, especially as leaders in ECE. We need those dopamine hits to keep us going. Dopamine is associated with pleasure and reward, and dopamine really enhances overall learning. Okay, it helps you remember more about what you're learning. Boom, get dopamine, remember things. That's it. So if you want to remember what you're learning and take something away, participate in the chat. Raise your hand, ask those questions. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. And I will say we've all had an opportunity to learn a ton on Zoom the last few years. So we do have the reaction buttons below. We have the raise hand button below. We have the chat on the side. So let's make sure you know where everything is. I want you a little pop quiz. Let's start off the day with a little pop quiz. I want you to throw as many emojis as you can in the chat. So let's see what we got here. Ooh, I see reactions going crazy. Good. Yes, Jen. Jen's got it. Who else do we got? Mariah. She knows how to do. Paula's raising her hand. Awesome. Storm, Sarah, Mariah. Challenge accepted. Okay. Okay. You guys are here for this. I love it. You guys are great. Awesome. Okay. So before I jump into the content, is it okay if I introduce myself? Say yes in the chat. All right. Well, my name is Summer Piha. Yes, in the chat. Okay, Heather. Very literal. I get it. My name is Summer Piha, and I help ECE leaders and educators find clarity in their days and fall in love with their jobs again. Because we're all here for a reason. We are all drawn to this industry for a reason, and it is time to fall in love with their jobs again. And today I'm going to show you how to run a healthy business by incorporating the 4 R's and learn how to recognize burnout within yourself so you can get back to the parts of the job you love. Anyone here for this? Anyone here for this? Right? Yes, in the chat. Something tells me snaking tiny toilets is not the part of the job you love. I'm just throwing it out there. Something tells me that. And today we're going to cover a lot of stuff. But before we get started, I want to learn a little bit about you. Okay, so I want you to take like 20 seconds to throw your name in the chat and then throw away one thing that led you to sign up for the webinar. What's one thing that if you were to walk away with this question answered, you would feel like you've spent this last hour well done? And if it's just for the certificate, that's fine too. You go ahead and write certificate in there. I won't be offended. I know how busy you are, but yeah, go ahead and take about 20 seconds to do that. And while you're doing that, I'm going to share my screen so we can get rocking and rolling. All right, now I got to find my chat again. There we go. Okay, lonely at the top. Survival. Yes. Have your why visible to yourself. I love it. Okay, you guys, these are all things we're going to talk about. These really, really are things we're going to talk about. Yes. Learn from others who understand. You feel like you're the only one dealing with these issues. Yes. Okay, I don't know if toilets are your biggest issue, but for us they it was a big thing. We renovated a bank and turned it into a school. So I don't know if you noticed this, but this one hand right here is holding a plunger. Because it really is, and you feel like you're a little bit crazy. You feel like, "Oh my gosh, what's happening?" So, awesome. A reminder to yourself why you're doing what you do every day. This is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Well, we're going to touch on a lot of this. We are going to touch on a lot of this. Feels like you're constantly putting out fires. Yes, Destiny, we know what we're supposed to do, but how do we do it in childcare where everything feels really unpredictable? All of that. Okay, well, let's jump in and let's talk about some of this. All right. It does feel lonely at the top. And we all have a story about how we became involved in childcare. It might be because you love children. It might be because, maybe you needed a job and this was the thing that you fell into. It might be that it's a family business. Your mom you grew up doing it and you just grew up in it, right? Either way, regardless of how you found yourself in childhood in the ECE field, it has this way of capturing your heart. Like every time you think about like, I'm out, I'm done, you get pulled back in because you're like, wait a second, this field captures my heart. Does anyone feel that? Throw me in the chat. Throw me in the chat if you feel that. Yes, Heather, yes. So the energy of the days, the pace of the days, no other industry can match this, right? You might have a financial meeting 1 hour, and then the next hour you're making slime with a bunch of ooey gooey kids. I always laugh because I'm like, how do you even figure out what to wear in the morning if we're going to the bank and we're making slime and we might have to clean up a bloody nose and oh, the board is here. So all of those things, right? It does feel lonely. It feels really, really, really lonely. And ECE leaders, you guys are some of the smartest and most dedicated, loyal, honorable, talented people I have ever met. Every single day, you amaze me. And it makes me wonder why? Why do we all feel lonely? Why is the burnout rate so high? Have you ever pulled up a chair at a happy hour or gone out to dinner with friends and you're ready to talk about your day only to realize the words that are coming out of your mouth sound like a foreign language, right? Like, oh, a kid peed outside and that was the issue you dealt with? Huh. Try telling that to somebody who's in corporate. The mini toilets, the broken vacuums, the lost socks, the water bottles filled with sand. All of those things, they're real and they pile up, and they might be little things one at a time, but they pile up on our shoulders. Melinda says it can be emotionally and physically exhausting. Yes. 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 I it's so wild to think about. And I always liken our field to like this hamster running on a wheel. We're running and running and running and running, and we're doing what we're supposed to do. The hamster's supposed to run on the wheel that's in his cage. We are running and running and running and running, but we're not getting anywhere. Anyone feel that? Write spinning in the chat if you feel that. Yes, I see lots of yeses, and that's me. And so, our job, realistically, is to go from being that hamster on the wheel, even though we're doing all the things we're supposed to do. We are going from spinning to sparkling. Everybody loves a good sparkle. So, we're going to go from spinning to sparkling. And I don't know if it's easy, but if you can, throw the sparkle emoji in the chat. I'm going to try to find my sparkle emoji. I use it a lot. Throw that sparkle emoji in the chat because we want to sparkle. There it is. Found it. We are sparkling. We're going from spinning to sparkling. We are not going to be that hamster on the wheel running and running and running anymore. We are not going to be that hamster running and running anymore. The big question is how? How do we share our passion for the ECE field and run a successful business without burning out? That's the $1,000,000 question. And I like to start with definitions. I think it's really good to have definitions, and so we're all on the same page. And so loneliness and burnout, two different things that lean into each other. So let's begin by defining our terms. Loneliness refers to this feeling of being isolated or disconnected from others. And burnout is the state of physical, emotional, mental exhaustion caused by prolonged stress and overwork. So, in the context of leadership, these experiences can be particularly acute due to pressures and responsibilities inherent with leading others, both loneliness and burnout, right? So, we are a field of people working with people, right? We serve children, they're people. We serve families, they're people. We serve our staff, they're people. And people have this thing called free will. They get to do whatever they want. Huh, who would have thought? Who would have thought managing a child care program would be so rough, right? And so I really think understanding loneliness in leadership is important. Leadership can be lonely because you are making decisions based off of the whole picture. The infant community, and I don't know why it's always those infant teachers, but the infant community, boy, they are squeaky wheels. And they like to really, really tell you how to do the job. But they're making snapshot decisions based on their community, the infant community, right? And you as a leader, you're making decisions based on the whole school. And that can make you feel a little bit lonely. Despite being surrounded by teams of people, your staff, your team, your colleagues, parents, kids, you as leaders bear the weight of heavy decisions. You make difficult decisions and you're able to project strength and confidence. So I want you to know that we see you. We see you, NCCA. They see you. I see you at Conscious Classroom. We see you bearing this heavy load of making these big decisions. So just to know that. And this can create this sense of isolation when you're making decisions as leaders. It's not like you turn and you're able to talk to your staff about the decisions you make, right? Complaints go up. Complaints go up. And when you're at the top, where do you go? Who do you turn to? Complaints go up. Write that down. That's a writer downer. There are going to be a few writer downers, and that one's a writer downer. Complaints go up. All right. So let's talk about burnout. So we talked a little bit about loneliness and how lonely this job feels, but now let's talk about burnout. Burnout is really, as leaders, there's significant risk of burning out. The demands of the role, long hours, constant decision making. Does anyone experience decision fatigue sometimes? I don't know if you know this, but Steve Jobs, he wore the same outfit every day. He wore a black turtleneck, jeans, white shirt, or white shoes. That's because he made so many decisions throughout his day. He didn't want to waste his mental capacity choosing an outfit, right? So, decision fatigue is a real thing. Decision fatigue is absolutely a real thing. And so, managing competing priorities, it can take a toll. This can really take a toll on even the most resilient individuals. So, leaders may also struggle to maintain a healthy work life balance. Anybody struggle to maintain a healthy work life balance? Throw me in the chat. I got to see this. Yep. Guilty, waves, me's, laughs, yeses. All right, you guys, we are some dedicated folks and we love our industry, but it does lead to burnout. The consequences of lonely and burnout extend beyond you as a leader, but they also can impact your organization, the performance of your team, your family. And so, really, I want you to listen and I want you to put into action some of the things we're going to talk about today. Okay. I really, really do. So, how do we work on loneliness and burnout? And I will tell you, I'm not, when I talk about self-care, it's important to prioritize self-care. And I know this feels impossible. I mean, what the heck is self-care? I know it feels impossible. And I'm not talking about weeks and weeks away at a spa or nails and hair. Although if you do go to the spa, can you invite me? Because I wanna do that. I wanna go. So I'm coming. If you have weeks to go at the spa, I wanna go. Maybe we should all. I see a lot of people who wanna go. Maybe we should form a little retreat at the spa. I'm down for that. But what I really am also talking about is self-care that you can incorporate into your daily life. Simple things that bring you joy, happiness, and peace. Okay, so the first thing, listen to a podcast or a radio station that inspires you. And I talk about this a lot in my boot camp, conscious leadership camp. The words you listen to, the social media you allow into your life, these are all things that can and do affect your leadership style. So find something that inspires you. You can throw that into your day. That's not going to take hours and hours out of your day. I I have to whisper because my Alexa's right behind me. But I listen to Nora Jones radio. That's like my chill zone. And so anytime I start to feel my shoulders come up like this. Is this how you feel? Just like this? Shoulders down, Nora Jones radio on, and we just chill. So I want you to figure out, what can I listen to that will brighten my mood? I want you to get away from your program and take a walk, right? We're talking dopamine. We want those dopamine hits. So dopamine, just step out of your program and take a walk, even if it's 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes. I promise you. It might not feel like you do, but you do have 10 minutes. Walk down the street and back. Get some vitamin D, some sunshine, some fresh air, some exercise. Plan it into your day. Okay. Put the phone down. I feel like so many of us are connected. We have our phones right here all the time on call. We're on call 24/7. Put the phone down and connect with friends, even if it's for an hour. If you can say, okay, for 1 hour, I'm not going to be available. Set the do not disturbs. Don't scroll mindlessly for that hour. I really want you to put it down. Okay. This one's big. Drink water. I know we all exist on coffee. I know caffeine, like IV, insert it right there. We're going to drink some water, you guys. Drink water. Who's guilty of not drinking any water? I saw this really awesome meme that was like, I'm playing that fun game of figuring out if my headache comes from my ponytail being too tight, too much caffeine, not enough caffeine, or no water, right? Drink some water. Eat foods that nourish your body. I know Chinese food is good. I know it's good. And when you're stressed, what do you want? You want that junk food. Mine was peanut butter chicken. I will tell you, anytime something stressful happened, I'd be like, peanut butter chicken, bring it to the school. They knew us. They knew our phone number, they knew our order. But I really want you to think about eating foods that nourish your body. What does that mean? What does that look like? Katie was my co-owner of the schools, the programs that I ran. We would share a bag of salad every single day for lunch. We would get some protein, put some protein on it, but share a bag of salad. And that was a way for us to eat foods that nourish our body that didn't take a ton of time because we don't have time, right? So when we're talking about this loneliness, when we're talking about this burnout, we're trying to find things that we can add into our lives that don't take a ton of time. All right, the next one's going to be really hard. This one is probably the hardest one for all of us. Have boundaries around work hours. Have boundaries around work hours. And it's okay if you do have to be on call. It's okay. I know. I owned the schools. I was on call 24/7 at the end of the day if the fire alarm rang at 2:30 in the morning by accident because someone's St. Patrick's Day decoration triggered something. Yes, I will go there. Yes, I will. I mean, that was oddly specific. I don't know if anyone feels that specific, but I was able to say, hey, from 5 to 7, I'm going to sit with my family and we're going to have dinner and we are going to work on homework together. Right? Yes, Heather says set do not disturb on the phone. For that time, set do not disturb on the phone. And Jen, I feel you. It feels like it's almost impossible not to think about work. It's going to take some practice, almost like meditation. I don't know if you guys meditate, but when you start to meditate and then your brain goes like, oh yeah, I have to-do list and I have some laundry and I have some dishes and oh, I have to run the post office and I have to do like your brain. And then you're like, whoo, get back here to this meditation. You breathe your breaths, whatever. Setting boundaries around work hours, it's going to be very, very similar. So it's going to take some practice. So start by maybe 2 hours is too much. Start with 1 hour and set that do not disturb. And then the next week, challenge yourself to set do not disturb and not think about work and enjoy what's really happening in the moment, right? I want you to make time for hobbies and interests outside of work. So if you thought the last one's going to hurt, this one's going to hurt too. See, I saved them for the end because all these painful ones I saved for the end. Hobbies and interests. How many of you feel like childcare is your personality? When I sold my schools, I never thought I would sell my schools ever. I owned 3 Montessori schools in the Twin Cities, 450 students, 700 parents, 92 staff members. I never thought I would sell. The schools were my babies. Then my mom got sick and my life changed. And I needed to show up for my mom. And so when I sold my schools, I felt this grief, this loss of identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. Does anyone feel like that? Like The school is who I am. The program is who I am in my soul. And I want you to really think about, who else are you? I saw somebody put in gardening. I love gardening. That that replaced a big chunk. Painting, reading for fun, not just workbooks, but reading for fun. So I want you to think about, what hobby can I incorporate into my life? What am I interested in? Am I interested in CrossFit? Am I interested in knitting? I want you to really spend some time self reflecting. I can't choose this for you. I want you to choose this for yourself. And I also want you to seek support from family and friends, professional networks. Know that even though we feel alone, you're not alone. There are lots of us out there who are going through the same things. Okay. All right. So at this time, I want you to really commit to one of these things. I'm not going to ask you to do all of them. I do not believe in that. I believe in the Kaizen philosophy. Kaizen philosophy is all about tiny little improvements continuously, right? So we're not going to change 30 things. We're going to change one thing for 30 days, and then we can add something else in. Okay. So I want you to choose one of these things that you'll commit to for the next 2 weeks. Throw it in, throw it in the chat. I want to see what you guys are going to commit to for the next 30 weeks. Teresa's do not disturb. Awesome, incredible. All right, Teresa, we're going to hold you to that. Ooh, lots of do not disturbs. Get outside daily. Drinking water. Yes, lots of drinking waters. Getting outside every day. Getting away from the program. Okay. When you write it down, you're making the commitment to doing this for 2 weeks. Look at this. Read a book. Take a walk. Get outside. Time with my kids. Sarah, yes, do not disturb for time with my kids. This could be life-changing. This could be absolutely life-changing. Mariah's throwing the sparkles. Throw the sparkles in the chat. You guys, you're taking the first step to change your life. This is amazing. I love it. 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 So we know realistically, the things on this page, it's not rocket science, right? Like drinking water, eating healthy foods, it's not rocket science. But you do have to take action for it to work. We can't just know we're supposed to drink water. We actually have to do it. So that's why I asked you to write it down. That's why I asked you to commit to doing it for 2 weeks. Also, pro tip, if you have somebody who comes into your office who is complaining about something, problem solve and ask them to commit to it for 2 weeks before they quit. By the end of that 2 weeks, they won't want to quit anymore. Works all the time. So I ask you to do it for 2 weeks because it feels like you can do it, right? 2 weeks it's not 6 months. 2 weeks, 10 days, 14 days. You got this. You can do it. Teresa's cheering you on. You can do it. I love it. All right. So I shared a little bit about my schools, right? 3 Montessori schools, pretty large schools. And our job is big and all encompassing, right? And it's difficult to know where to start. I mean, we have to remind ourselves to drink water. How do we know where to start when all the things are getting thrown at us all the time? And I will tell you, when I was growing my program, I worked with a business architect. Boy, was this an experience. We didn't know this, but it was a full-time job for a year. So it was 40 hours a week for 52 weeks. So I'm going to take the next 30 minutes and try to sum all that up for you. Okay. Good luck. We'll give it a shot. We're going to do our best. And much like many of you, my business partner and I were running this successful program on the outside. On the outside, our school was the best of the best. The inside was messy, messy, messy. Yeah. Anyone resonate with that? Throw the word messy if you're internally messy. Like externally, you're good. We're good. Internally, it's a little bit messy. Anyone resonate with that? Okay, good. I was like, am I the only one that's a little messy? Come on. Come on. Okay, good. We got some messy people. Awesome. Good. Well, this business architect really helped us build our program out and helped us build out our standard operating procedures, SOPs. So if you hear of anyone talking about SOPs, they're talking about standard operating procedures, how things are done. Okay. And this business architect chunked it down for us, and she chunked it down into people, process, information, technology. So, people, process, information, technology. Who is responsible for the task? Who is accountable for the task? And we're going to go into responsible and accountable on the next slide. But process, what needs to be happening for this to get done? What information is needed? What information is required to complete the task? And what technology is required to complete the task? So I think even just starting here, people, process, information, technology. Well, it gives us a really good starting point. So I want to talk about responsible versus accountable. People and who's the responsible person and who's the accountable person. Okay, so here's the deal. We all know all the things at the end of the day, they're on our shoulders, right? As the owner, as the director, as a member of the leadership team, all the things, they wind up right here. And is it the best use of your time to go from classroom to classroom to classroom to classroom counting band-aids? We know our first aid kits need to be replenished. We know they need to be full. We know that there are certain licensing requirements. But as the owner, director, leadership, member of the leadership team, is it the best use of your time? No. There are many, many other things that you can be doing with your time. So you need to assign a responsible person. So maybe it's the lead teacher in the classroom is responsible for counting band-aids in the first aid kit. And you then become the accountable person. You're like the checker. You check to make sure that the task gets done. So I know all of us feel we're doers. You got to this place in your career by being a doer. You like to do things, you like to jump into action. Anyone feeling that? Yeah. Okay. We're shifting from doers to talkers. We are going to assign a responsible person and we are going to become the accountable person to make sure it gets done. Whew, that alone is a great place to start. So I'm going to pull up our standard operating procedure. I'm going to pull up our standard operating procedure. Thanks for being here, Paulette. Okay, so my program was called Peaceful Valley Montessori Academy. And this is our SOP. You see people, information, technology, process. All right. And this is for checking the child file. We had one of these for everything you could do. So people is divided into who is responsible and who is accountable. Who is responsible for checking the child file? The administrative director at each campus. Who's accountable? The head of school at each campus. All right, so it's super clear that the person who's doing the work, the responsible person, has the task. They know what they're doing. The accountable person also knows, hey, you have to be the checker now. What vendor information do they need? They need our forms that are available on OneNote and in Teams. You know, this varies. We used OneNote, we use Teams, but you use whatever you use, Bamboo HR, whatever it is. What information? So this is where we would put down the information from whether it was licensing or if it was food program or, it doesn't matter, but you put down the information needed to do the task. A child file is a filed folder with paperwork required by DHS. Schools are required to keep child files for 7 years after the child has left the school. Awesome. So now the director and the administrative director all have all the information, the why. What technology is needed? A computer, a printer, and access to OneNote and Teams. All right, if The computer goes down. If someone's computer crashes, they can't do this job. So the accountable person has to step in or make arrangements. If somebody is expected, the responsible person's expected to do the job, but doesn't have access to OneNote or Teams, they're not going to be successful. So you can see how this is really, really useful. The goal is to ensure all child files are complete according to standards, to make sure we're collecting our tuition, to make sure that we are in compliance before it's held in that secure area. Okay, note, you can write down any notes. The financial information is to be turned into the head of school and stored in the locked file cabinet at each campus. Okay, so any notes are thrown in there too. Then you write down the whole process, whatever the process is. And my goal was always, if a person can walk in off the street, read this, and complete the tasks. So that's how I wrote out my SOPs. So really, really basic, really, really incredibly basic. And then you see at the bottom here, this is a level and a layer of accountability. Supervisor's initials, trainees' initials, and the date. So then if something's not getting done, you can pull this out and you can say, okay, on May 15th, we talked about how to do a child file and it's still not getting done. So how can I support you? What part of this don't you understand? Let's retrain on this. Right? So it's that layer of accountability. So when we talk about responsible person and accountable person, everyone has all the information they need and you have a way to go back and double check. Okay. Whew. This is a ton of information. I know I'm giving you a ton of information, but it's so good. It's so good, you guys. All right, now I got to get back to my webinar here. So can you see my screen that says responsible, accountable? Okay, very, very cool. So let's go into what a healthy business and a healthy program looks like. A healthy business is, in my perspective, is one that possesses resilience, right? There's a lot of shifts and ebbs and flows. I feel like we are the kings and queens of pivoting. ECE, we can pivot. If we know how to do anything well, it's pivot, right? And so we have to run a healthy program that can bounce. Can bounce. We're not just looking at, okay, staffing's really hard right now. Well, guess what? Maybe 2 months from now, finding families might be really, really hard, right? So we have to be healthy holistically. And so I've honed this in, and this is the framework that I follow. And it's these 4 R's: recruitment, risk mitigation, revenue protection, and retention. So we need to retain staff and families. We need to recruit staff and families. We need to mitigate risk. We want to make sure safety is the utmost. It's the utmost important thing. And we need to manage our finances. Revenue protection. Like it or not, we're running a business. So if we can use this center here, these 4 R's, a healthy business is one that has a strong core in the 4 R's. And you guys, I didn't do it today, but I usually have 4 different pairs of sunglasses that I pull on when I talk about the different R's, because we want to use these R's as different lenses. So let's talk briefly about each of these R's. What is retention? Okay. Retention, a robust and healthy program, maintains a workforce by staying abreast of industry trends and cultivating state-of-the-art work environment. Okay, we want to make sure that we are retaining our staff. It's not just enough to be able to put up a job posting, do an interview, get them in the door, push them in the classroom. We need to make sure we're retaining them. We need to retain them in body and in dedication. We want to keep up with the trends and provide this amazing cutting edge workspace for all employees. And this shifts, it ebbs and flows, right? So thinking, what is important to the staff you have now? What is important? Is it flexibility of schedule? Okay, how do we do that when we need to maintain ratios? Can we shift to 410s? I don't know. You have to decide that for your own program. But the thing I'm asking you to do is this box. This box, I don't want you to stay in the box. I want you to think outside of the box. Be a trailblazer, commit to trying new things to help to retain your staff, right? Whew, recruitment. Like I said, it's not enough to just recruit. We also have to retain. And so a healthy business, when we talk about recruitment, will have a strong community image and the tools necessary to convert leads into lasting customers who send leads through us through word of mouth. Ooh, who would have thought community image and recruitment are in the same bucket? Isn't that amazing to think about? So, thinking about what is our image in the community? Throw on that pair of sunglasses. What is our image in the community? Will we be able to recruit families? Will we be able to recruit staff simply based on our image alone? What are our reviews on social media saying? What are our reviews online saying? Should I get more testimonials and put them out there in the world? Right? All of this ties into recruitment. Then we have risk mitigation. And risk mitigation, a healthy business has policies in place and all stakeholders are trained on them to ensure safety for the children we serve and be in compliance with state and federal regulations. Prioritizing safety is a non negotiable. Safety above all. I would even say safety of the children above your community image. Like keeping the children that we're lucky enough to care for safe is number one. So thinking about this through your program through the lens of risk mitigation. Am I able to serve the children? Am I able to serve the families? What do I have in place for risk mitigation? And finally, dun dun dun, the one we all hate talking about, revenue protection. A healthy business, we run businesses, leadership team, owner, director, we run businesses. No matter why we were called to this industry, our love of children, our love of serving the community, it doesn't matter. We are running a business and we need to have a healthy, strong business. Okay? We cannot serve our community and we cannot keep our employees if we're not financially healthy. So, using this lens of revenue protection as a guideline to running our healthy business. Okay? So, these four lenses, they're distinctive sunglasses, different pairs of fancy sunglasses, right? Ooh, Melinda. Yes, Melinda. This your family's come by word of mouth. You've really conquered that recruitment portion. Strong community image. I love it. Okay. So, thinking about the framework of a healthy business, right? 4 R's. I want you to use them as different lenses to view your program through, and I want you to use this as a guideline. Whew. All right, you guys. Whew. I just gave you a ton of information in a short amount of time. A ton of information in a short amount of time. Lots to think about. And so let's recap a little bit. Let's recap what we've talked about. I mean, because it's like just a whole new language, right? Okay. The health of your program directly correlates to loneliness and burnout. And most people would think they're separate things, but they're not. The more messy and chaotic internally your program is, the more stressed and the more apt to burnout you will be. Okay, so first thing first, evaluate your program. Are you running it like a business? Okay, utilize the lenses of the 4 R's when making decisions and policies. Utilize people, process, information, technology. And I know I saw the video will be sent to you, the recording will be sent to you. Utilize the example that I threw up on the screen. It's so helpful as a guiding, just as a template, as a starting point. right? I want you to think about who's responsible for doing tasks and who's accountable, and then communicate to all the people involved. And finally, find your community. Figure out how you're going to connect with peers in the industry. Figure out how you're going to connect with colleagues in your own town. Um, how do you network? Do you go to conferences? Do you attend webinars like this, right? And I want to share. I'm launching, you guys are the first. Nobody even knows about it yet. But right here is a Facebook page called It's Lonely at the Top. So if you would like to join our Facebook page, It's Lonely at the Top, you can utilize, just so you're not alone, right? It's a community for ECE leaders to connect and to share the craziness and the wildness of this job and collaborate and not feel so lonely. So you're the very first. You guys, I think there's two people in it, me and Rachel. And so here you go. It's lonely at the top. This is for you. And all right, now we have two things left to do. We have to give away a copy of the book. The book is called It's Lonely at the Top, Organizational Strategies for ECE Leaders, right? And it walks through working with that business architect. It walks through the 4 R's. It's for you. So the book, It's Lonely at the Top. And oh, yep. I love it. Now my Facebook on my computer is gonna be like ding, 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 ding. So join. I love it. So we need to give away a copy of the book and also Q&A. Okay, so that was a ton of information. I'm sure your mind is spinning and you're ready to jump into action and get to work. But if you have any ahas or if you have any questions, I have about 10 minutes. I believe, Mariah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I have about 10 minutes to answer any Q&As or talk through any ahas. I want to hear what your favorite parts of what we talked about today was. Okay, and while you guys are thinking of your questions, I am going to go through the participants. I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to just kind of the attendees that are on here. I'm not really going to close my eyes because I have to see where I'm clicking, but I'm not going to look at that part of my screen. And I'm just, wherever I stop, that's who's getting the book. Okay, deal? You guys win because you stayed till the end. Okay. Heather, I can't see the rest of the name. Heather Loch. Heather Deloach. Yes, that's you, Heather. You get the book. So if you're able to send me a private message with your email your real mailing address, because it's on my to-do list to go to the post office and drop this off for you. I would love to be able to get this to you today. Yay, Heather! Okay, any ahas, any big key takeaways, you can throw it in the chat. I don't know if you're allowed to talk, but you can raise your hand and we can make that happen.
If you raise your hand, I'm happy to unmute you if you'd like to speak.
Awesome. And tell me some of the favorite things that you liked about this presentation.
Well, I know what I liked. I liked your perkiness and just, the fact that you like to have fun, because I will tell you that's another big part of surviving, working in a childcare environment is you have to be able to laugh.
Absolutely. Because if you don't laugh, you cry. Because there are some wild things we go through.
Yes.
Awesome. And for those of you who didn't win the book, if you don't have a copy, it's available on Amazon. So you can check it out on Amazon. Let's see what we have here. Responsible versus accountable. I can see that is absolutely one that is resonating, that's going to be life-changing for some of you. Positive and energetic, accountability, and the SOPs. Yeah, Yeah, really clearly laying it out there. People, process, information, technology. Because I think a lot of times we get rocking and rolling, right? We're sitting at our desk, we're pounding this out. We're like, this is easy. I don't know why people can't just do this. And then you look and you're like, oh shoot, I didn't give them access to that Google folder. And they're very busy. So they didn't, they being whether it's the director, your assistant director, anybody, right? Anybody who you're calling in to help. Well, they're busy and they didn't tell you they don't have access. And then the task just doesn't get done. I think so. Really thinking about what are all the pieces that go together. Yeah.
Well,
Awesome.
Heather or Summer, well, Heather, congratulations on getting the book and thank you for your active participation. But
Yes. Well,
Summer, I wanted to tell you, I would have had a summer um, in my life when I was uh, in my first few years of directing and district managing, because I was one of those people that I thought nobody could do the job as well as I could. And then also, I just felt bad about asking them to. And my husband was actually my summer kind of sort of, but not near as fun and not understanding our business. But he was a manager and a leader in a different industry. And I was coming home really late at night because I wanted my school to look really good for the, to next morning opening. And while everybody had cleaning duties, sometimes they didn't clean as well as I would like. And I was really good at giving them the duty and then giving them the time to do it. But I was bad at going back and checking to see if it got done the way I had envisioned it, and then helping them see the difference between their way and my way. And so I was missing dinner every night. And
yeah.
so that res- giving out responsibility and then finding the right person to give responsibility to.
Can I share, Cindy, just a little hot tip that has
Yes.
nothing to do what we talked about, but has everything to do with the situation and the example that you just mentioned? Okay, so I don't know how many of you have worked in the restaurant industry, the service industry, but I used to be a server. All through college, I was a server. And before we would get cut, that means like the manager was like, hey, you get to go home. So you would get cut. But before you actually got to go home, you had to do something called side work or closing work. And it was this list of tasks. And they were tasks like fill the salt and pepper shakers. And you had to fill them and then tap them like this and look to make sure they were all full. So you had to fill the salt and pepper shakers and you had to buff your tables and you had to do all these things. And then you had to go to somebody who was approved. And it wasn't the manager, it was more like a senior member of staff. And they had to sign off on your side work. So if you break down your cleaning duties list into essentially side work for every shift and have a staff member trained on how to approve side work, you won't be the one staying there all hours of the night cleaning. How massive is that? Like to take from experiences that you've lived. A lot of you, I see the comments going crazy. We got catch ups. Oh, yes, anything gooey like that. Bleh. But I can see the comments going crazy. So really think about what are the tasks that need to get done and how can you divide them out through shifts and then train someone to be the person to sign off on them. Isn't that massive? Like mind blowing? So, food for thought, something to think about. Now I put more on your to-do list. Oh, I love it. All right. Any other big ahas or big takeaways? Well, please join the Facebook group. Find me on social media. I always say I'm a collector of people. Once you're in my circle, you don't really get out because I love people and I love helping. And so find me on social media, friend me, join the group. I want to be here to support you in any way. You are not alone. You are absolutely not alone. If anything, you got me, and I'm kind of a stage 5 clinger.
I love that. Oh my goodness. I think that everyone will agree with me when I say we were so happy to have you today and that today's session was both informative and fun and super interactive. Thank you everyone for being so active in the chat and sharing your insight and your stories and just, you're not alone. You're not alone. There is a whole community. And then thank you, Summer, for kind of reiterating that. And because, it can be very isolating in this line of work. And you want to make sure that there's going to be someone that has your back when you're too busy having everybody else's back. So thank you all for joining. Again, today's session has been recorded. Summer is graciously going to provide us with her presentation deck so you guys can reference it. So we'll be sending that afterwards along with the link to the survey, which will pop up afterwards as well, and the link to the recording on the website.
Only say good stuff on the survey. I'm just kidding.
Please.
Say whatever you want.
I think that there's nothing bad we could say about you, Summer. I don't think there's one thing. So we're really, really happy that everybody was able to get the goodie out of this and continue to do so. Please share with everyone. Congratulations again to Miss Heather, who is the lucky recipient of the book. And so I know that if you need to follow up with Summer, did you want to drop your email or anything?
Absolutely. I can throw my email right in here.
Yeah, just so we make sure we get all the ties in. We do have a couple of other links in the chat as well. If you want to become an NCCA member, we highly encourage it. We love everyone to be a part of this awesome network of professionals in ECE and childcare. So please do that if you have not already. And then I'm also going to go ahead, it's going to pop up afterwards, but here is the post-webinar survey link. So go ahead and fill that out. And for anyone who is interested in advocacy, which should be everyone on this call, please go ahead and join us next Tuesday at noon Eastern. I'm going to drop it in the chat. We are doing our bi-monthly advocacy call along with our partners, the Early Childhood Childcare Consortium. It's ECE. We will be talking about federal and state updates. If you're not already registered for the call, please do so. It is a really good, really beneficial for everyone, and people share resources and just what's going on individually and how we can come together for one unified message. So please come and take your seat at the table, because that is so important. So I have yapped enough. Unfortunately, Cindy did get booted off the call by accident. I think her internet connection was a little rough. So she told me to say goodbye. But again, thank you all so much today. And Summer, do you have anything you'd like to say on our way out?
I just want to say thank you for taking the time to be here with us, pouring into yourself. And remember, you've committed for 2 weeks. So drink your water, eat your healthy food, take your walks, and take care of yourselves. Thanks, everyone.